A young actor uploads 10 videos. Some are short comedy sketches. Some are serious monologues. One is a scene he wrote himself. One is a quiet character study. One is just an experiment, filmed badly, but with something honest in it. Most of them do almost nothing. Then one format breaks out. It is simple, repeatable, easy to understand in the first 3 seconds. A specific character, joke or format. The comments know what they liked. The platform seems to know what to do with it. So he makes another one. It works again, then another one, then another. And see there, it works again. After a while, the strange part is not that he found something successful. The strange part is that everything else now looks like a mistake. The strange part is not the first hit. The strange part is what happens when the second one works too. Because now it no longer feels like one video that happened to work. It feels like something he's supposed to understand, repeat and build around. And that is where the pressure begins. Not, what do I want to make? But, what can I afford to make? That shift does not announce itself. It arrives gradually, dressed in logic that sounds reasonable. And this video is about the cost of that shift, and why it is harder to see than it looks. This is not at first a problem. A creator finding a format that works is not a crisis. It is often the first clear signal they have had. Before that, everything may have been scattered. A few posts, a few experiments, ideas that mattered deeply to the person making them, but did not yet mean much to anyone else. Then one thing lands. People click, they watch, they share it. Maybe casting directors notice. Maybe other creators notice. Maybe for the first time, the outside world answers back. For someone who has been making things in the dark, that response is not a small thing. It is proof that the work crossed the gap, that something made internally became legible to people who had no reason to care. The mistake would be to treat that signal as worthless just because it arrived through a platform. A working format is not a cage yet. Sometimes it is just data. The algorithm is not your enemy simply because it shows you what people respond to. Sometimes it is giving you the first useful information you have received. The harder part is learning how to read that information without turning it into an instruction. When the response repeats, the system has something it can use. People click, some stay longer, some share, some return when a similar video appears. The content becomes easier to test, easier to place, easier to distribute. That is not the system understanding him, it is the system finding a pattern it can use. The distinction matters because the actor may look at those numbers and feel recognized, seen and understood. But what the platform recognized was not him. It was one version of him, the version that currently creates the clearest, most readable signal. Most platforms describe recommendation through some version of the same logic. Did people choose the video? Stay with it, interact with it. And is there enough signal to believe similar viewers might respond too? None of that asks what the creator intended, what range he has, or what he might become. The platform sees which output produces the most consistent response from the people who already showed up. That version may be his best work. It may also be his most obvious work. Or simply the version he has made clear enough for strangers to recognize in 3 seconds. So the actor repeats the format. And again, this is not wrong. Repetition is how skills sharpen. It is how an audience learns what to expect and how a creator turns an accident into a practice. A format is a kind of promise. It tells a stranger, this is why you should stay. But a promise can narrow over time. The first time the format works, it feels like discovery. The second time, it feels like confirmation. The fifth time, it starts to feel like instruction. And somewhere after that, the creator may no longer be asking, what do I want to make? He may be asking, what can I afford to make? Because now there is evidence. This format works. This audience expects it. This rhythm performs. This version is legible. And every other version starts with the disadvantage. But this is also where we need to slow down. Because the wrong diagnosis creates the wrong response. Because not every low-performing experiment is evidence of captivity. Not every weak experiment is suppressed. There are 3 different things a struggling format can be. The first is, it is weak. The hook does not land. The opening is slow. The edit has no rhythm. The idea matters to the creator, but has not yet been translated into a form that travels to strangers. The second, it is misaligned. The direction may not be bad, but it does not serve the goal the creator claims to have. The format is not wrong in itself, it simply does not lead where the creator actually needs to go. And the third, it is early. The idea is right, the direction is right, but the audience has not yet learned how to read it. The creator is building something that doesn't have a signal yet. Not because it is bad, but because it is new. These three situations call for completely different responses. A weak format needs to be built better. A misaligned format needs to be questioned, not refined. An early format needs to be sustained, even though numbers that will, for a while, look like failure. But sustained does not mean repeated blindly. If a creator has tried a direction many times and learned nothing from the attempts, the problems may no longer be patience. It may be the absence of a real learning loop. Some formats do not fail because the idea is wrong. They fail because the creator has not yet built the conditions under which the idea can be understood. The difficulty is that all three can produce the same emotional signal: silence, low numbers, uncertainty, the feeling that something is not landing, but they are not the same problem. One needs better execution, one needs a different direction, and one may simply need more times before the signal becomes readable. The mistake is treating all three the same way. The more common mistake is blaming the algorithm when the work simply is not yet clear enough. The case changes when repetition stops feeling chosen, not when the creator repeats a format, monetizes it, or uses it to grow. Those can all be solid decisions. The case changes when every alternative begins to feel irrational. He wants to make a more serious scene, but he can already imagine the lower views. He wants to build a longer format, but he can already anticipate the weaker retention. He wants to show a different side of his work, but he can already hear the comments asking for the old thing. And now the successful format is no longer just a creative choice. It is the place where uncertainty is lowest. The audience already knows how to read it. The platform already recognizes the pattern. And the creator has already watched this version survive contact with the system. And so every other direction begins with friction. This is the moment the format becomes an obligation, not because anyone forces him to make it, but because every other direction now has a visible cost. And here is where the problem changes character. At the beginning, the numbers describe a result. This video worked, this one did not. The information is useful, but over time, the numbers can start describing something else. Not the video, the person itself. This version of me works, that one does not. The moment that shift happens, the successful format stops being only a tool. It becomes the safest available version of identity. And the weak experiment no longer feels like something to improve. It starts to feel like evidence against a future self. The creator no longer asks, what needs to be clearer? He starts asking much quieter questions. Maybe that version of me does not belong here. That is not strategic thinking, that is the format teaching the creator what he's allowed to be. And as the audience grows, the pressure changes again. The audience stops being outside the work, it moves inside. The creator is no longer just deciding between what he wants to make and what the platform might reward. He is also anticipating the people who have already decided what they came for. The comments before they are written, the disappointment before it appears, the old expectation before the new work has a chance to breathe. Researchers sometimes describe this as audience entanglement. The point where the audience is no longer just receiving the work, but becomes a persistent presence in how the work gets made. This is where the successful format becomes more than a pattern. It becomes a cost structure. For a small creator, the cost of leaving it may be momentum, fewer views, less external confirmation that the path is working. And this uncertainty is not imaginary. Platform work happens inside systems whose rules are partly visible, partly guessed, and always likely to shift. A creator is not only making work, he is making work while trying to anticipate how the system might treat it. There is a name for this: algorithmic precarity, the condition of working inside platforms that shape visibility without ever fully revealing the rules. That anticipation becomes part of the labor. For a bigger creator, the cost can grow into infrastructure, a team, sponsors, a production schedule, an audience that has organized its expectations around one readable format. At that point, changing direction is not only a creative decision, it is a financial decision with other people attached to it. And this is why the advice, just make what you want, can become strangely hollow. Not because the creator lacks courage, but because he may understand the hook, the timing, the platform logic, and the audience behavior completely, and that understanding does not set him free. Sometimes it only makes the cost easier to see. Every other direction now has a price. Let's get back to this point. The algorithm does not literally like you. It does not know your ambition, your range, or the work you hope to grow toward. What it detects is which version of your output performs most consistently with the audience that already showed up. But from the creator's side, the result can feel almost personal. One version keeps getting clicked, watched and shared, rewarded. The others do not. In acting, there is a word for something close to this: typecasting. An actor becomes associated with one kind of role. At first, that association creates opportunity. It gives the actor a place in the industry's imagination. But later, the same association can become a wall. Not because anyone officially assigned it, simply because people stop looking for anything else. Platform culture creates a faster, softer version of this. There is no casting director walking in the room. Instead, one format keeps producing stronger signals than the others. It becomes easier to click, easier to recommend, easier to explain, and eventually, easier to become. This pattern works across mediums. A musician may discover that one emotional tone playlists better. A writer may realize that one style of insight keeps getting shared, while everything slower disappears quietly in the background. And over time, opportunity begins organizing itself around the most distributable version of the work. Not necessarily the deepest version, just the easiest one to recognize, repeat and reward. What is this format for? If it is a product, improve it, own it, let it pay for the rest. If it is a bridge, it cannot be the whole building. It has to lead somewhere the format alone cannot take you. If it is a training ground, then repetition is not the enemy, it is how the skill becomes portable. But if it is a trap, it usually has one strange feature. It stops creating options. Does this format create options or remove them? It still produces numbers, still generates response, may still pay well, but it no longer expands the creator's future. It only makes the next repetition easier to justify. That is the difference between using a format and slowly being used by it. Strategy turns repetition into leverage. Self-reduction turns repetition into shelter. So return to the actor looking at the dashboard. It shows the successful video is still there. It still matters. It shows that one version became readable. One promise was easy for strangers to understand, but it was never designed to answer every question. It cannot tell him whether his other work is worthless. It cannot tell him whether the slower idea is wrong or simply early. It cannot tell him whether the format is building a career or quietly replacing one. That decision belongs somewhere else, not outside the numbers, but not inside them either. The algorithm may keep rewarding one version. The audience may keep asking for it. The format may keep working, but the creator still has to decide what the repetition is building. A product? A bridge? A skill? Or a smaller room? Because the danger is not that one version of you works. The danger is forgetting that it was only supposed to be one version.